I'm on a mission to figure out how to become the best CEO I can possibly be. Now, I don't have the answers just yet, but I'm determined to find them and to share them with you. I thought it'd make sense to start with a little bit of background and some of the things that I've learned so far. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tom Froggatt and I'm the CEO and founder of Singular. We're a company that work with small and mid-sized biotech businesses, from startups to organizations of around about 250 people, helping them to build brilliant teams and cultures. I've been running the company for a little over 5 years now, and it's my first CEO position. We started out with just me in a room with no windows, making hundreds of cold calls every day. And today we're a busy, profitable small business with an awesome team and a future that I'm very excited about. Now, when I started the business, we were a pretty traditional recruitment company, specialized in drug discovery and with a fairly standard business model. The only things that really set us apart were my experience and how that translated into our brand, neither of which were really scalable. So I realized quickly that just working really hard and growing the business through sheer force of will wasn't a sustainable strategy. I also got a bit sick of cold calling, if I'm honest. I remember one week in particular, this was pre-COVID, and on reflection, it must have been the school holidays or something. And after the third day in a row of making 200 plus calls to people who didn't answer the phone, and when they did, didn't want to talk to me, I walked home thinking to myself, there's got to be a better way. Now, at this point, I'd accumulated more than 15 years of experience, led large sales teams, and managed divisions with revenues over £2 million. And I just felt it wasn't a good use of my time to be calling on people who didn't have any interest in a conversation with me. And it was that thought that triggered the first exploration phase of my CEO career, where I tried to figure out what that better way of doing things might be. I started to think about all the things that I'd had to buy to get my own business up and running, and I realised that I hadn't had a single cold call or email from any of the companies that I'd bought from. And that in itself was a bit of a light bulb moment. I'd only really ever been taught proactive outbound sales, but clearly there was a different path. I just had to find it. So I stopped focusing on what other similar companies were doing, which, to be honest, was more or less the same as the approach I was taking. And I started to learn about inbound sales, about marketing, and about content generation. I started the Careers in Discovery podcast, which is still going and is now near 150 episodes, featuring some of the most incredible people from across the biotech industry. And at one point, that podcast was generating around about a third of our clients. Along with that, I got good at making videos and found ways to do research that was useful to my clients and potential clients. For example, I remember staying up until 2 a.m. writing the complete guide to remote hiring on the night that the first COVID lockdown was announced, so that I'd be ready to send it out to everyone I knew first thing the next day before anybody else took action. And through a combination of all of these things, I started generating more business than I ever had before. The other important thing I did shortly afterwards was I joined an accelerator program run by NatWest Bank here in Cardiff to work out how I could further evolve the business. The accelerator was really interesting. It had all sorts of companies on it: medical device businesses, accountants, people who own chains of cafes, burger restaurants, tech companies. So there were tons of ideas floating around. And I remember thinking to myself that although the feel of Singular was different to our competition, we hadn't actually done anything that could be considered genuinely innovative. And that really bothered me. So that thought led me down a path that took me to the creation of our talent partnerships, which are a subscription-based hiring model that was way more cost-effective for clients who are hiring a significant volume of people, and which also allowed us to get to know the companies we were working with in much greater depth than we had before, which in turn made us more effective. They also generated recurring revenue, which was nice for a business that was dependent on placement fees. I think a lot more companies use this model now, but that was back in 2020 and things were pretty different. I was only really aware of maybe 1 or 2 companies in other sectors that were doing anything like a talent partnership. And that move was successful enough to allow us to make the switch to a fully retained business model the following year, which was huge for our productivity. And looking for different ways to do things and create value for our customers has really become a key part of our culture at Singular, and it came from this period in our business of exploration. The next big learning curve for me as a CEO came when we started to accelerate the growth of the business. We'd had a really strong 2021, and I took an office with space for 25 people. We had 7 at the time, so I was clearly full of confidence and ambition. And we started to hire new staff, but I made a few missteps here. Some of the people who came on board just weren't suited for the roles they were in, and others came into jobs that I hadn't fleshed out enough to provide the right amount of guidance or direction. My own attention shifted from sales to running the business because I thought that the sales side was taken care of, naively, and the result was rapidly rising costs along with rapidly declining revenues, which isn't a combination I'd recommend, to be honest. And as we came to the end of 2022, I wouldn't go as far as to say we were hemorrhaging cash, but we were losing it quickly. And at one point, I figured we probably had about 8 months left unless something changed significantly. Obviously, I was hugely stressed and I was entirely focused on the potential negative outcome. And that kept us on a path that was taking us in completely the wrong direction. Going from a 300 grand profit to a 200 grand loss in 12 months is a painful and expensive lesson, but it was still a lesson. Luckily, I got hold of things before it was too late. I enrolled on a course, which was Tony Robbins' Business Mastery. I highly recommend it. I made some difficult people decisions and set about changing almost everything about how we ran the business. I spent my Christmas holiday rebranding the company. I expanded our service offering to capture more of what our clients needed. And when we got into the new year, I was feeling much, much better about where we were heading. The good news was we had some really good early wins in 2023, which got the team on board with our new plan. But at the same time, I was noticing that a lot of our clients were finding raising money extremely challenging, and most of them are venture-backed enterprises, so they weren't planning to grow. Enough of them were planning to grow that it wasn't a commercial issue for us, but it really bothered me that under our existing business model, there were around 40% roughly of our clients that I couldn't help, I couldn't do anything for them. And that, from my perspective, wasn't okay. So I started to think about what could we do for those companies who weren't hiring, who were focused on raising money, and in the meantime wanted to extend their runways, get more from their teams, and essentially do more with less because that's what the market was demanding of them. And the outcome of those questions was developing our people partnerships, which are consulting services focused on helping biotech companies to not just recruit the right people, but to retain, engage, and develop the people they already have. And this is a task that typically falls on the CEO in a small company or on another member of the executive team. But delivering great science and raising money takes so much time and attention in biotech that even with great intentions, they can't focus on the people and culture side of their business as much as they should. It's also, to be honest, not typically their skill set, so they often don't know where to do or what to do or where to start. So we provide them with a fractional chief people officer who helps them to leverage their people and their culture to achieve their strategic business objectives. And for our business, this has been a real game changer, and for our clients. We launched the people partnerships very quietly in September last year, and the level of interest and the level of engagement we've seen has been huge. And it means we now have a genuinely unique offering that makes a real difference to the companies we serve. The momentum shift in our business has been just amazing to see. So that's really what led me to this series. I've come to a point where I'm confident that we have the right proposition, the right team, and exceptional delivery, and that we're focused on serving the right audience. And now it's time to scale the business and accelerate the scope of our impact. And I think one of the key factors in our ability to do that will be my performance as CEO. So I decided earlier this year that I wanted to learn to be the best CEO I can possibly be. But many of you watching this will know that CEO development is an absolute mess. There's so much to learn and so many different approaches that it's hard to know where to start. And as I was thinking about this, I realized that it's likely there are others who are in the same boat, CEOs or aspiring CEOs who are trying to find the right approach to becoming better at their job. And we all know that your ability as a CEO has a disproportionate impact on the performance of your company. So the stakes are high, but there's not a huge amount of useful support out there. So I'll be sharing everything I learn here on the YouTube channel, on my upcoming CEO Sessions podcast, and on my blog. All the links for these are on the channel. I'm really excited to go on this journey with you, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your insights and your questions. I really do want this to be as interactive as possible, so if you do have any questions you'd like me to find the answers to, if you have any insights from your own experience that you'd like to share, any examples of CEOs who you think do an amazing job, or anything else, just drop a comment below, or you can send me an email on tom@singular-biotech.com. Hit like and subscribe too. It'll make sure you're notified when new videos come out, and it'll help us reach a whole lot more people. And I look forward to seeing you soon.